pretty excited about doing this at 4 o'clock in the afternoon today. I've got snow falling in front of me that I get to look at, which is kind of pretty when I'm all warm and cozy inside. And it's a perfect backdrop to remind us about slowing down, which is the theme for the week. The live video that I put out on Monday, I mentioned that I was having a major case of the I don't wannas. I was feeling super unproductive, which is extremely uncomfortable for me. That's a challenge that comes up often. There's this judgment that comes in when I'm feeling like I'm not producing enough, not getting enough done, and not checking off enough on the to-do list. That's where the theme arose. And it comes up for me often enough that it was almost as important for me to spend time looking at this theme as it is for me to share it with you. I am sure that this comes up for some of you all. I have a ton of notes today, so when you see me cheating and looking over here at my notes, that's exactly what I'm doing, because it mattered enough for me to really dig into this one, because it, confession. Okay, confession time. If I'm not checking off an acceptable number of items off of my to-do list each day, then I have a major attack of the not good enoughs. Anybody else out there that gets that feels like somehow they're less than, or they compare themselves to the next guy who looks like they're rattling off all this stuff? That's what happens to me. So that's my confession, that when I get to these plateaus, as I referred to them in that earlier video, it triggers me. I wanted to dive in and do some work on that with all of you. Pipe up in the comments whenever you have any experiences from your own life, any responses to the things that I'm sharing. I love the interaction. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. Always okay. I was thinking first, when I noticed myself getting into this stalled out period, like what causes that? Does it come from a streak of productivity? And then we have this streak where we're like on fire and we're getting all this done, and then it's like flatlining, and then nothing, crickets. Or is it this building upon cycle? Does it come from a lack of productivity that just keeps increasing in uncomfortability? And I'm looking at my past week and thinking, well, I can't tell for me which it was from, because I had both options that seemed to precede this slowdown plateau period for me. I had a lot of playing leading up to Monday. I had a lot of playing, a lot of time off, a lot of not getting things done right up to Monday, which was good. It was light. It felt great. I also had a week prior where I was getting a ton done, and it felt wonderful. So I'm not really sure what the specific cause was for my slowdown, whether it was that following a streak of productivity or a lack thereof. So maybe that isn't it. Maybe it's just normal and it's life. At the turn of the year, all this good stuff was coming my way, and I knew in my head, oh, enjoy it while it lasts, right? Because it's not gonna last, because it's normal that life goes like this, right? But there's always that one little piece that says, oh, maybe this time it'll last. I'll just stay on a roll. I'll be on fire forever, and it'll feel great, and I'll just be untouchable. There's always that sneaky little maybe this time. Nothing in life is constant, right? Except for change, which we've talked about before. How about we change our perspective on what it's supposed to look like? Change our perspective on this slow time. There's our theme. Because if it's not working for us, then maybe we need to change how we're looking at it up here. So let's jump into that. First, let's talk about what this slow time is, what it looks like. It can have an internal feeling and an external way of looking. So externally, it might look like You're not getting stuff done. You're not checking stuff off that to-do list. And internally, it might feel heavy, or it might just feel soft. It just feels slow. There's a low energy to it. But outwardly, it shows up in the not doing, I don't wannas, which is both internal and external, those I don't wannas. How does it feel for you? Let me know what those stalls, those plateaus feel like for you. There are a lot of people who don't judge those times at all. And maybe you know a few where they're like, it's a slow week. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother them at all. Sometimes we're just going to have a lull. It's just going to be there. Let's change the perspective on the slowdown. And I'm going to offer a few strategies when we get there on how to navigate those periods. But changing the perspective is important to do first. What if we just allowed for a plateau once in a while? Resisting it doesn't help us. It doesn't do us any favors. It doesn't make the process feel any good. It's not like we can beat these slowdowns out of ourselves. How often does that work for you? Probably doesn't. If we can give ourselves permission, the world's gonna keep on turning. If we don't do our 20,000 things a day, the world's gonna keep on turning without us. It's not like we're a hamster on a wheel, and if we stop running, the world's gonna stop. It's gonna be okay if we take a break. Really, give yourself permission. If we remove the judgment around what it looks like, we can start to look at it as a period of rejuvenation, of recharging. Gotta recharge the batteries. Otherwise, how can we maintain that pace incessantly? We can't. We break down. To help change the perspective, it is important to get underneath those underlying whys of why we resist being in that lack of productivity. For those of us who just hate that, why are we uncomfortable about it? And for some of us, those underlying whys, those little stinkers, they're so elusive that we need an outside perspective to help us nab that. They're like a slippery little fish that the second you think you're onto the real reason, it'll slip away because it doesn't want to be caught. It's important to think and dig deeper why we are uncomfortable in the slow periods. Why is it difficult to give permission to take a break, to slow down, to recharge, to do nothing, to not have a to-do list? It could be from old beliefs that you have. Maybe that L word, laziness. Ooh, maybe that's a triggery word for you. What is it about stopping that is not okay? What is it that you need to go all the time? Where are those beliefs coming from? That's work that you can do on your own or with a professional who's trained to see beneath the crap that we tell ourselves all the time. That's really what's important, to clear that stuff out. Now, a beautiful, beautiful way to change our perspective on what this slowdown offers us. I'm looking at it right now outside of the window. Nature offers us the greatest plateau there is. Winter. This is a time for slowing down. It's a time for rejuvenating, planning. It's a time to plan what's coming up next. Planning isn't about go. It's about preparing to go. Winter precedes a season of growth, but the winter itself is very like a plateau. You don't see any movement. There's nothing happening. That's how nature can model to us that this slowdown is okay. Why can't we allow ourselves our own winter? It's a good thought to noodle on. I promised some strategies for how to navigate this. Once we can loosen the grip of the slowdown is wrong and change our perspective and start to open up to the gifts that this time can offer us, then how do we navigate it when we're in it, especially if it's still just a little bit uncomfortable? What is successful during this time on any given day? Maybe our successful day looks a little bit different in that season of winter than it may when things are growing and blooming and in action. Maybe you only focus on one thing to get done each day. What is the most important thing that you have to get done on any given day? Just one day at a time. Grocery shopping. Maybe it's just grocery shopping. If you don't do that, well, you might be a little hosed for the next day. But everything else, it's okay. Cut yourself a break. Maybe just that one thing. Maybe it's sending one email. Just one email. Give yourself permission to just do the one most important thing. Jen is saying, impressions of what a work ethic is or what it means. Yeah. Sometimes the world has made that more important than self-care. Oh, bravo. And if anybody knows right now, someone who might be in a bit of a forced shutdown, recovering and self-care and nurturing at home, that could be Jen, who has a wonderful view on this right now, that forced shutdown. I mean, we have that forced shutdown anytime we have to heal, right? Some of us resist it so much. We don't want to stop. She says she likes and thinks she's implemented the one thing concept. High five. Nice job. Way to not judge. Give yourself permission to just do that one thing. I'll be honest. One of my very good friends who lives in town, Kelly, I promised I'd give her a shout out because I called her last night because I'm like, you got to help me because she's great at this. She's my role model for permission and being okay with those periods of slowdown. And she was the one who threw out just that one thing. If you can just do that one thing, let everything else go. What's the most important thing? And sometimes it's going to be, hey, I put on pants today. That was the most important thing that I needed to feel accomplished today. Raw pants. Hey. And it is really important to be compassionate with yourself, to not be so darn hard on yourself. If you can work on changing the perspective and not making these slowdown periods hard, that will make the compassion piece a lot easier. But just be kind. Be kind. Another way to navigate this period of slowdown, get yourself out and for any kind of change of scenery, even if it's just stepping outside the door for a few minutes. Any kind of distractions. Maybe this is the time you allow yourself permission to just watch Netflix. Or just distract yourself with anything. Just because you've maybe done your one thing and I'm just going to take the pressure off and I'm just going to have a rest and rejuvenation day or week and take it a day at a time. Distractions can help so that we don't start to spin in that this is not okay, I'm judging this, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough. No, just take a break. Treat yourself. Anything you can do to treat yourself during this period of slowdown, just to keep yourself moving forward, getting through the day. Give yourself a little treat, whatever that may be for you. Conscious complaining. Such a neat exercise. Guess who from? Carla McLaren. Look her up. I'm actually going to link an article later, I think, in the comments when I sign off that will help with this. So I'm going to come back to her again. But conscious complaining is a wonderful way. She's got a great twist on it. How to complain in a healthy way. Because we're taught complaining's not good. And when I first read it, I was like, what do you mean, Carla? What are you going to tell me that this is going to work? But hey, surprise, surprise, she comes through again. Conscious complaining is a pretty neat thing. Great way to navigate these times of slowdown. Watching movies, as I mentioned, Netflix, but you could even do it in a different way where you're really soaking up the information. You can do this with anything, any information coming to you. That's how you can start to watch, when am I ready to move out of this rest and rejuvenation period. You can start increasing your awareness in everything that's around you, watching for the messages that can help give you reasons for why you're in the slowdown, reasons to help you plan. You start to become a detective and you watch the messages coming into you, for you. You watch how you're feeling and when it starts to feel uncomfortable, when you're ready to stretch out of that slowdown period and do something else. These plateaus should be just a temporary thing. Now, only you, get to judge how long temporary is. That's why you start to watch yourself and start to see, well, how healthy is this? These plateaus should be just as temporary as those periods of heightened productivity. So while we're watching them, if you're worried about whether these slowdowns are healthy or not, watch if they last too long. Now, too long, again, you get to be the judge of how long temporary means. It helps to call it out. Tell your team, whoever your team is, in this period, will just keep an eye on me and make sure I'm taking care of myself, because I'm just gonna kind of go in my little huddle for a little while, retreat to my cave and watch Netflix for a week because I need to take a break, because I need to rejuvenate. And maybe call it outside yourself. Tell your team, whoever that might be, whoever supports you, to just keep an eye and make sure that you don't stay in there forever, because there is a balance. There is such a thing as too long, and you get to determine when that is. It'll start to feel uncomfortable to you. You'll start to notice maybe you're not taking care of yourself so well. So you want to watch and make sure you're still functional. If you're still functioning, you're eating, whether it's healthy or not, again, that's where you get to set the bar, but at least you're eating. If you're sleeping all right, are you drinking enough water? The basic self-care stuff. Are you getting outside and not completely holding up constantly? You get to judge where that line is. But I bet you know when it starts to get unhealthy. That's why it helps to call it out. Tell our team, I might need somebody to pull me out every once in a while if you can't bring yourself out. But if you're doing this in a healthy way and you're watching yourself and you're still functional, it can be quite a good period of rejuvenation. As long as you're functional, these things would be temporary, and it's all okay. As long as we allow it to be, we don't beat ourselves up. The article that I'm going to link to at the end is an article on apathy and boredom, which offers fantastic insight to explore further what can be behind these periods of shutdown. There's so much information in there. I decided to not cover it, but just leave a trail of breadcrumbs. It's wonderfully supportive for those of you who struggle with this like I do. If you want to dig a little further, the bottom line is allow yourself a break. Allow yourself to take a break. Tell your team so that you can get support if you're in it too long. And until then, I'm gonna go have some bonbons and go hang out on the couch and nurture myself for a little bit. Bye, have a good one.